Okay. So the first order of business, I'm supposed to settle everybody down according to the script. That means you two guys back there settle down, the two troublemakers over there. Okay, so first of all, I want to commend you guys for being here, because the people who come to this, as opposed to the internet one, these are the people that truly have social consciences. So welcome. I'm Ed Lambert. I'm with Bridge Bank. We work with companies from startup to public, and one of the areas we focus on is green and clean. So this is quite meaningful to me. So wanted to give you guys some quick ground rules as to how we were going to do this. So we have 5 companies presenting. I'm going to read you guys a brief summary as each person comes up. They're going to have 6 minutes to present, and then our August panel is going to have 4 minutes to ask them questions. And if we have a little extra time, we'll also take questions from the audience, because we want this to be an inclusive event. So what I first would like to do is introduce our panel to you so they can tell you a little bit about themselves. So starting over on my left, Lee Barrows from Vantage Point Capital Partners.
Hi, Lee Burrows. I've been with Vantage Point for 11 plus years now. We have general funds and clean tech funds. I'm personally focused on utility scale deployments, smart grid, energy storage, and energy efficiency.
Paul Fox.
Hello, Paul Fox from the California Clean Energy Fund, seed and early stage investor in clean energy. My background is, I'm a civil engineer, but I started my life out doing remote power and water, and then worked in the utilities industry before doing high volume manufacturing, sold to Flextronics. That's how I ended up here. And then raised money for 3 of my own startups before getting into venture capital world. So not a tourist in the clean tech space, and looking forward to a couple of years' time when this whole area takes off again.
Paul is from the down under part of California.
Yeah, so, yeah. Ed, can you translate?
He's really happy to be here, and he knows more than all of us combined because he's part of the Energy Angel Fund. Mark, DBL Investors.
Yep, I'm Mark Perutz with DBL Investors. We're a double bottom line venture capital fund. I've been with the firm for almost 10 years now. And about 60% of our capital we put into clean tech. But we're also active investors in IT and consumer products and services.
Great. Okay, so without any further ado, we're going to get into our first company. And what's really cool about these 5 companies is they're not coming just from the Valley here, they're coming from all over. So our first company is from Ohio. E3 Clean Technologies provides devices that cost effectively clean up smog-forming NOx emissions in diesel and power plant exhaust and contamination in wastewater while producing clean hydrogen fuel as a free byproduct. Their devices allow customers to meet critical current and future air and water emission standards at up to half the capital and operating costs of currently available technologies. So please join me in welcoming CEO Kent Shields. Kent?
Thank you. Good afternoon. I'm really pleased to be able to present this today. We are E3 Clean Technologies, and before I start, since Ed did a couple of my first slides anyway, just to answer some unkind questions that I've been asked since I've been here, and we don't have anything to do with the trash collection at E3 Expo. We are a hardware company. We make electrolyzers that clean up air and water pollution. We make hydrogen fuel as a free byproduct of that process. Our technology is the result of $6 million in R&D funded grants, or grant funded R&D, and we've got an extensive patent portfolio that covers our technology worldwide. What do we fix? We clean up exhaust emissions that cause smog, NOx emissions that cause smog in diesel and power plant exhaust, and we clean up ammonia contamination in wastewater that causes algae blooms in lakes and rivers. Our primary market is NOx emissions, and you can see this is a huge market. Power plants and trucks today use a technology called SCR, that is selective catalytic reduction, that's used to clean up NOx. That technology uses ammonia as the key reagent. And our SCR green box makes ammonia on demand, but it makes it more cost effectively and more efficiently than anything in the market today. So if you look at our technology, we're basically like a battery operating in reverse. Sorry, that doesn't... it's a battery operating in reverse. We basically introduce a urea solution into our electrolyzer. We apply a very, very low voltage, 1 to 1.5 volts, and the output of that is ammonia gas and hydrogen. And we use the ammonia in the SCR process to drive the NOx reduction. Why is this exciting in the industry? We have what we call our 50-60-60 advantage. We offer, through our technology, significant cost reductions in capital cost, operating cost, and energy consumption compared to existing processes that are used in the industry today, in the power plant industry, to make ammonia gas. And that's typically high temperature hydrolysis of urea. In the automotive market, we have even a more compelling proposition. Current SCR systems on trucks rely on the exhaust temperature to operate, and they only work when the engines are very hot. Future emissions legislation is going to require that SCR operate over a much broader operating range than is currently available with existing SCR systems. Our technology effectively breaks that connection with exhaust temperature. We decouple ammonia production and allow the SCR NOx reduction to happen throughout the operating range of an engine. So we have a really compelling value proposition for both industrial and automotive applications, and we're currently in negotiation with 3 major SCR integrators, 1 in the automotive space and 2 in the power plant space, to provide them with SCR green box electrolyzers for use in their markets. All right, so I want to talk a little bit about what's our number 2, or our next big thing after SCR. We're focused on SCR right now, but we see wastewater as the next big thing for our company. It's a major market. It's a $1.5 billion market just in the U.S. alone. And what do we provide? Well, we can basically take that part of a wastewater treatment plant and we can replace it with this. So we go from a big biological system where you're basically a bacteria farmer, and we replace that with an electrical appliance that can be, again, provides what we call our 50-70-70 solution, where we actually provide much lower capital and operating cost, again, much lower energy consumption, but we're an appliance. We can be containerized, we can be installed in a wastewater treatment plant in a matter of months, where a typical biological system can be a multi-year major construction project. The portability and the low energy consumption of our technology has already attracted the attention of the Department of Defense, and we are involved with a project to create an advanced wastewater system for forward operating bases, where our green box provides ammonia, emissions remediation, and hydrogen fuel as part of that process. So I'll just conclude by saying we've got a technology that has a huge potential in the emissions remediation space. It's got one key feature that I think is very important, and that is we don't require incentives or tax breaks to make this operate. We offer immediate value to our customers in terms of low cost, ease of implementation, and our ability to meet future emission standards. So with that, thank you, and I'll take questions.
So, Lee, would you like to begin the questions?
Are you only looking at U.S. markets, or have you looked at international markets as well, such as China and India?
Well, the SCR integrators for the power plant market that we're working with all are big sellers in China. That's the big market for SCR right now in the industrial side, with their implementation of coal-fired power plants.
Right. And so when you gave market numbers, was that worldwide, or those were U.S. numbers though?
Those are
Right.
U.S. numbers.
Yeah,
That'll be our first market with these companies. On the diesel side, our market is as big in Europe as it is here, and we're talking to folks like Peugeot and Ford Europe and a number of the diesel manufacturers.
I would think it would be bigger in Europe.
Well, it is.
On the diesel side.
On the passenger car side, we're about evenly split when it comes to heavy-duty diesels.
So tell me about firstly, your primary market, your entry market is in diesel trucks?
No, it's in industrial SCR.
Industrial.
For power plants. We can build small-scale systems for industrial boilers and heat treat furnaces and that sort of thing that we can launch into that market we believe, in 2014.
And what your business model will be to actually sell these boxes?
We will build and sell the electrolyzers that they will integrate into a complete system, a complete SCR system for industrial applications. The truck market, the vehicle market is really going to have to wait till the next level of large step in emissions legislation, and that's in 2016.
It sounds really good, and I like the fact that you're in talks with automotive and power plant potential partners, because clearly that's going to be really helpful for adoption. Can you share with us, have you done any pilots? Is there any instances of this in some stage of operation currently?
Well, we have laboratory scale systems that we're using to demonstrate to the auto companies and the SCR manufacturers, so that. And we're intending to supply a demonstration system to one of our industrial SCR manufacturers or partners in the future, between now and the end of the third quarter this year. On the wastewater side, we've already supplied several units to the Department of Defense that they're using to develop their wastewater system for bases.
Thanks.
Does anyone in the audience have a question for Kent? So real quickly, so your first order of business is related to the automotive industry. So where are you in terms of, you're moving into the wastewater, which is kind of like, in some ways, it almost sounds like an apple and an orange. What's your game plan in terms of the wastewater? Where are you in that stage? Or is that in the future?
Right. We're focused on SCR, on the NOx reduction part, starting with industrial power plant applications, then into automotive, and then we follow on with wastewater.
Great.
It's a platform technology, so we take urea and convert it into ammonia, and we can take ammonia and convert it into hydrogen. And so it's 90% of what we do on the SCR space translates into what we will do in the wastewater space.
What's special about electrolyzers have been around for a long time, so what's special about yours? Or is it just that you've applied it in this application, or is there something?
Well, it's a
secret sauce.
It's a unique configuration where, should we have our founder and inventor?
Our technology is based on the ability that we know how to control the production and the removal of ammonia on demand. So it's the ability to control through transfer of electrons, break the ammonia molecule or make the ammonia molecule on demand. That's the basis of the technology.
Thank you. Now, one reminder to the audience, these folks are all going to be at demo stations after the presentation. So if you have questions, please feel free to go talk to them there, and you can spend some quality time with them there. Thank you very much, Kent. So our next company, HEVT, from Chicago, Illinois, is building a new class of high-performance, highly efficient, affordable, and reliable electric motors free of rare earth metals for stationary and mobility markets. These motors will enable to achieve up to 60% cost savings due to the lack of critical materials, rare earth metals, and reduced copper, 85 to 90% efficiency versus the typical 30 to 45% efficiency today, the ability to cost-effectively manufacture throughout the world, fastest to scale, and the ability to scale from 150 watts to 1 megawatt and beyond for appliances, HVAC pumps, etc. So please join me in welcoming Heidi Lubin, CEO.
Hi, good afternoon. So we're HEVT. We make electric motors. The value propositions, they're up to 60% lower cost initially while being up to 3 times more efficient than competitive technologies without rare earth metals. So most of us don't realize today that we have one of the biggest problems we have with energy efficiency and, frankly, carbon abatement is that electric motor-driven systems use up about half of our electricity globally. And it takes up about 6,000 megatons of carbon dioxide. And it's annually a $565 billion spend. So if we just effectively address that by using the least life cycle cost electric motor, will essentially flatten demand for electricity between now and 2030, even accounting for the fact that we're bringing massive parts of the world up the development scale from an energy perspective. We address 73% of electric motor-driven technologies with our technology. So one might wonder, why haven't we done this before? Well, here's what our solution looks like. And you'll notice that we've got software ahead of the hardware. And that's because what's changing right now in the electric motor industry is that our electric motors are substantially more software-driven than hardware-driven. So on the left here, you see a picture of an AC induction motor with a lower price point. And on the right, you see a permanent magnet motor. Right now, the industry is shifting from an induction motor technology, which is a fairly low-end technology from an electrical or software-driven perspective, to a permanent magnet technology. One of the problems with permanent magnets are the magnets themselves, which require rare earth content, which is primarily refined in China. 97% of refining capacity is concentrated in China, largely because nobody else wants to do it because the materials are radioactive. So, yeah. Oops. Yeah. And some of our largest potential customers with whom we're currently in discussions are being sued actually because of the content even when they're putting the machines together or taking them apart. So we can provide the performance of the permanent magnet motor, which is variable speed, while at the cost of the induction motor, and then pricing strategy sort of comes into play there. So why is that the case? Well, partly that's the case because we're the least expensive to build. The point here are not all the words on the page. The point here is that the process for our technology on the right is much less intensive than the other processes and drives a lot of cost and process out of the process itself. You can also see that we're much more efficient than other technologies. And if you remember the animation of the motor working, that's largely because the motor itself is intermittent. So the way it works is the software sends a pulsation of the electric current in intermittent forms through the motor, and so the motor is inherently variable speed. So that drives efficiency over the operating cycle, which is what you see here. This is another way of looking. These are efficiency maps. This is another way of looking at the efficiency of the technology. In the lower left, you see the switch reluctance machine technologies. We have alarms going off everywhere today. And the dark blue and the flatter efficiency curve here indicates that you have the broadest efficiency over the widest speed range, and that lends to lower operating costs. So what's happening here is instead of having the person who's building the system have to choose between the lowest initial cost for their system, because, for example, when Johnson Controls makes a chiller, they're not ultimately the people who operate the chiller. So right now, our incentives are misaligned. What Johnson Controls needs to do is lower the cost and provide a reasonably efficient product, but not necessarily the most efficient product. And then the people who ultimately pay to run the building, which is a couple steps removed, have a different incentive. They're the ones who want the lowest cost operating cycle. Well, if you can offer a product that has the lower cost here at the front end, but still the lowest operating cost without disrupting the incentive structure, then we can really address the problem that we're seeing with electric motor-driven systems eating up so much electricity. So I know this violates all of what Guy told us. There's a reason I did this. Bill's shaking his head at me. So the only number, the only words, the only image that I really want you to see on this page is at the bottom, which is what the savings look like. Otherwise, we're just sort of trying to be a good student and we're showing our work with the math product. But what this looks like is basically what you see is this takes us through a bunch of different scenarios. And what we see here is that this is just a 50 horsepower motor, which isn't a particularly big machine. What we see here is that by improving efficiency over a year-long time span, especially in Japan, where a lot of our customers are, partly because they're also concerned about rare earth metals, you have a payback that is a multiple of the expense of the motor, and this is in 1 year. So the value proposition is significant. You can see some of our working prototypes in their stages of build here on the right. And we'll be in scaled production within 12 months of funding. This is one of our production facilities, contract manufacturing out in Wisconsin. And thank you. We're thinking differently about motors.
So, Mr. Burrows.
So we've looked at quite a few motor companies over the last few years, and what the rabbit holes we always go down is which market do you want to go after first, and who do you partner with to get there?
We need to be extremely focused. I'm sure that's a challenge. I think that's a challenge for any platform technology, motor company or otherwise. Right now, we're looking at the HVAC, the initial HVAC spec, and a washing machine. And the only reason we're looking at two is because the specs for these motors are basically the same. So really what we're looking at is about a 750 watt motor. It will then be leveraged into adjacent markets. We just happen to have the good fortune right now where we have two customers with specs that are really well aligned, with whom we're, big strategics with whom we're in conversation right now.
Got it.
So what's driving that desire for those particular companies to buy, to use your technology?
So in the European markets, it's mostly energy efficiency. In the Asian markets, it's a combination of real concern over the rare earth crisis, because in Japan, it's already a crisis. In Europe, it really isn't quite yet. Coupled with energy efficiency, because they're paying 77 cents a kilowatt hour for electricity. And they've also already had the Chinese, over a trade dispute over a boat, actually cut off the supply of rare earth metals for about a month in 2010. So they already recognize that it's a critical material strategy concern. I think the other issue is from the customer perspective, because our philosophy in business is if you can make your customer happy, it's the best way to make our customer happy, is they want to be able to offer a reliable, variable speed product without increasing or having to pass along a lot of that cost to their customer. So we can help them do that.
Mark?
Great presentation.
Thank you.
So with regards to reliability, it seems like if I were a washing machine company or HVAC, that would be one of my biggest questions and concerns for a new company, because you want that to run without too many problems for 10, 20, 30 years. Are you able to take any of those working prototypes and start doing, it's a little bit premature, but lifetime testing, and just have them run for thousands and thousands of cycles for months, if not, and just have them keep going, and then you can use that as a proof point to look at it still going?
Yeah, no, we'd like to do more of that. It's a little bit funding dependent. I think one of the things we can tell you is, our logo is actually an image of the motor, but if I flip back just for a second to the animation, let's see here. What we've changed about the underlying structure of the machine is the rotor, which is the spinning part, has more poles. And so it operates basically like a 5-phase machine, except it has 3-phase electronic costs. So you keep the electronic costs the same, but you have more efficiency and torque. So from a reliability perspective, we haven't done anything that would change the underlying reliability of a machine. The neat thing about SRM technology is historically it's always been the most rugged and reliable, but it wasn't high performance before. So to answer your question, yes, we absolutely need to do more of that. It's a totally fair and great question, but also a little bit of so far so good.
Are there any? Bill?
You're a ringer, you know that.
FYI, Bill's guy's partner, so I think he's going to have a little defense here.
No, I'm just curious. I thought you could elaborate on what's so hard about doing this, and why can't
everybody else do the same thing.
No, thank you. So I think part of it is, so one of the things we get is, really what's sexy about a motor company? And our answer has become, well, we think a $565 billion spend is pretty sexy, but maybe that's just us. So I think partly like motors just weren't cool anymore. Hardware wasn't perceived to be cool anymore. So I mentioned that because power electronics and electrical engineering got underfunded in universities. So there just wasn't, for a time, a lot of people thinking about this stuff. I think the other piece of why so hard, why do we have a competitive advantage going forward, is the software and the control piece.
That's it.
This is kind of like the Academy Awards. These ladies up here are like that music that starts going. Any other questions? They'll be right next door. Our third company is from Las Vegas, Nevada. PowerGo sells a small portable power generator with multi-power ports that are remote controllable by mobile app via Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, SMS, and USSD. For consumers, it powers LEDs, mobile laptops, and small appliances. For B2B, power and remote monitor control for off-grid instruments, security and solar street lights, etc. in the machine-to-machine sector. Their competitive advantage is they provide plug and play. They provide M2M capability, including off the grid. They provide self-contained, no fuel needed portable power plus communication via internet or mobile app. You can use your app to monitor and turn off lights, gates, pumps, etc., extend Wi-Fi anywhere independent of the grid, and they are equipped with a multi-language graphic UI. So here to translate that into plain English, please welcome CEO Steve Austin. Steve?
Hi. 1 second. All set? Okay, which button? Okay. Okay. Good. Hi, I'm Steve Austin, CEO, co-founder of PowerGo. My partner, Walt Bakarowski, is here with me. I'm actually here in Sunnyvale. Walt's in Las Vegas. Okay, quick background. I have a background in business and chemistry. I've been in B2B all my life. Most of that's been in the semiconductor business. I started as a sales engineer. I ended up as the GM. I really know how to drive sales. I went from 20 employees to about 80, so I know about, I don't do the 1%, I do the bottom up with real money. And then Walt's been in the Valley for 25 years as an embedded systems engineer. He worked as an applications guy interfacing with corporations around the country, so he knows how to build sensors into systems. Kwaku is a Parisian programmer who developed our Android apps. So that's a little background. The reason this is up here is because about 15 years ago when the US military went to putting the LCDs to replace the old tubes, I went after that market. There's a strategy to it. I went and got Xerox PARC, IBM R&D, then I won AT&T Bell Labs, and that made the proof that the military couldn't say no to us. And so I ended up winning this order, which was about $1.5 million a pop to manufacture those, and about 20 pops. And it was like $30 million order. So we just wanted you to know, as a startup, we are also engineering and sales driven. We know how to do B2B. Okay, the problem is this, and there's the background to this, is in the Internet of Things. That's where our solution stands. Now people naturally are always connected, but mobile changes it. People are really connected now. People want to be connected to learn, to work together, and when we have natural disasters, it's really a disruption now to people to not be connected. But it's even worse in the emerging markets because the population's increasing by 80 million people a year. They're moving into the cities, and the cities are bursting at the seams. The grid is down every day. This represents a major market for us. Our goal and our commitment is to provide power for the quality of life so people can be connected, have lights, mobile, internet connectivity, and electricity to work. Okay, our technology background. This system basically has this three in it. We have a controller and self-contained power. We have communication system, and we have digital switch ports. We connect it to the Android. Those buttons up there are the on and off switches, and every one of those switches is connected to these red buttons so that we have remote control of these outputs. This makes the electricity. This is the on and off switches. Let me turn it on for you. So this is simply a 3-watt bulb. This will run 2 of these. It's got 2 USBs for power, 12-volt output. So we've got the ability to do small appliances, remote control. There's a commercial and a business element. So here's remote control. Businesses already have millions of installations for things like tanks, solar lights, remote access. We can control these things remotely. We don't have to drive out there now. We can turn them on and off from here. Our first customer is actually solar streetlights. This all can be a consumer version at under $500. The market size in the consumer space is a little over $1 billion. The market size in the commercial size is about $2 to $5 billion. Traction. Okay, we've got requests from Mel Cotton Sportings, ML Solar. These guys are all ready to carry it. Adams, I'll come back in a moment. All these guys have got orders coming to us now, and actually we've built all this ourselves. We're actually now getting, well, we're getting kind of beat up because we can't really deliver it. We're getting orders now more than we can produce. Competition is, for the most part, terrible, except for these guys. They're okay, but nobody's got advanced communications. Yep, they're okay.
Is anyone from Net Zero here?
They're okay, but nobody's got any kind of advanced communications that we found like we have. Go-to-market strategy. Our goal here is to be in the niche, avoid the big guys. We're moving towards a break-even on our internal sales. We have a lot of activity I'll show you from West Africa, and we'll be going to machine-to-machine because this is to go to corporations. I'll show you our first product with the solar. Okay. We're going to Kickstart in a couple months. That'll give us attention for online sales, second tier. Oops, let me go back to those guys. Our break even is 16 units a day. That'll give us $60,000 a month, and then from there we'll grow to the next step. Okay, strategic partnership, referrals. That was for Guy. These guys, JMI, are now our distributor in Japan and West Africa. These guys, that's our first one. This is an LOI for $350K minimum of solar lights for a project, but we won't see this money till next spring. This is a deal where Trojan's making referrals to us for their reseller network. And this is Adams Group. They're taking this product out to the missionaries that they're selling to missionaries because of the outreach that this does. So that's a great sales distribution that we have through these guys. This is a connection through Kabila. She's the CEO. They are the video content to Al Jazeera, and they want to cover us right now because of what they're seeing with our product. So we've got lots of attention from people. Business model margins about 50%. And right now, Walt has just caused the next generation, Rev 4. We got a pretty big price reduction in our cost to manufacture. So there's a forecast up to $40 million. We have a team of advisors, and that's it. Thank you. Woo! Sorry.
Hallelujah.
Yeah.
Lee.
Wow.
Do you believe?
I like the missionary thing. So a question on your, there's obviously a big problem in emerging markets, right? And at a $500 price point or cost point?
Okay, let's make it clear. We are not selling to the last people in the village. No way. We're not even close to that. They're buying $20 things and $15 things. But there's 50 units going to Nigeria right now. Here's where they're going. First of all, people who work in regular corporations and Lagos, like a bank, they make $1,000 to $4,000 a month. That's not executives. So there's a whole market there, and that's where this goes. Now, they're going to the mobile stores because that's where they're selling this. That's where the first orders are going. Second of all, there's 2 architects going from the U.S. They're taking this system to schools, including the university professor, actually the president of Lagos University is getting one of these in a couple months. Because the power's off, put it in the school. So what happens is they go after the managerial class, and then they sell it into the government. That's how it works in Africa. So this is actually the way to go into a school. This is lights, immediate lights, no technician. You're deployed in 5 minutes. That's where this is going. Schools, offices, and clinics. This actually will run a small fridge for medicine.
So it's subsidized by NGOs that are
I'm a
pushing things into
capitalist.
the...
I don't know anything about NGOs. I sell. Those guys want to buy. They've already ordered 50. So the market is actually businessmen and small businessmen who want the product. Also, people who use this off the grid, which is all over the place. Most of the country's off the grid. Nigeria's power's gone down 20% this year, the whole national grid. So there's opportunities for this in a lot of places. Same thing in Japan. We have a distributor now in Japan because people would now worry about the stability of the grid. Same thing back east. Every time the storm goes down, this is an opportunity for that.
Mike?
Oh,
No, you go.
Mark?
Is it?
yeah.
I'll answer it either. So is it a lithium-ion battery in there?
This first one is sealed lead acid. Lithium cost, for that size, would actually cost $100 to $200. We can do it, but that's a higher price point. That's where we would go into the business, the B2B model. They can afford the lithium.
Okay. And can you give a sense of how much it would charge? Like how many smartphones, how many tablets? Or
This has got 200 watt hours, and this will do about 10 on a charge to 20 mobiles. But if you've got the panels running at the same time, then you're at a break-even point, and you just keep going. All it takes to do is just plug this in. That's it.
So what you described as one of your key advantages over the competitors as being the ability to remotely control it using a smartphone.
Yes.
Are there any other inherent advantages that you have?
Okay.
Because adding that functionality would not necessarily be a difficult task for a competitor.
Well, it's kind of more than you think because all of the electronics which we made from the ground up has to be compatible for that. So, for example, those guys at the waste plant we've been talking to from day one, what they see is all of the perimeter lights in a 12-acre site will be controlled by this, and they'll be reporting to their Wi-Fi. They see about a 50% reduction in the cost of maintenance.
One other thing about this, there's one of the ports can take any voltage source from 8 volts to 24 volts, goes through a controlled buck boost regulator into a maximum power point tracking to charge the battery. So in addition to standard solar cells, it can take any voltage source from almost any point and charge the battery. So it's a very flexible system.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You ready? Our fourth company is all the way from Château de Galice, Aix-en-Provence, France. Sun Partner Group devotes smart services with breakthrough light-based energy material technologies based on invisible photovoltaic cells. Imagine that every surface could produce its own energy for smarter consumption. Through unprecedented combination of optical and photovoltaic properties in Sun Partner technologies, any medium can be transformed into a solar energy-producing surface when exposed to any natural and artificial light without impacting the design or aesthetics of the surface. We have over 30 patents filled, and we've developed several technologies to serve various application areas, such as communications devices, but also smart houses and smart cities through buildings, transport, and outdoor advertising, Inc. So please join me in welcoming CEO Ludovic Deblois.
So yes, I'm French. So please excuse me for my English if sometimes maybe if you don't understand me, just tell me. Is that fine?
You're good. You can
okay, cool. Yeah. So here we go. So yeah, I'm going to talk about Sun Partner. It's about smart surfaces and invisible solar cells. And what is hard to discuss and depict is invisibility. So I'm going to talk about mobile phones. Why? Basically because we all know that mobile phones are everywhere. We tend to use them for everything. And the key point is basically, you heard about nomophobia. Again, you start to get running out of battery, you're dumb, you get stressed, and so on. Half of the people getting fully stressed because they're getting out of battery. And so also we share the same concept, that basically Internet of Things is ever-connected devices. So the battery issue is going to be a major 21st century biggest frustration and biggest challenge. And the people are actually looking for some ways to handle this battery issue. Still, if you look at devices like mobile phones, But radio communication are getting higher and higher. And CPU is also bad. Battery is here. So nothing has been done. Battery cells did not evolve that much. By 10 years, maybe we're going to get fast charging batteries. But by that time, there is nothing inside. And so device manufacturers are looking to get some solution, so sustainable, ubiquitous solution to get more battery lifetime, to get more things to do with their devices. And that's where also they're looking for cheap energy. And energy harvesting solutions are basically sustainable, cheap, and free mobile power. So that's where we created this technology. This technology, we call it Crystal. Crystal is basically the combination of optics and solar cells. It looks like this. I have a sample with me. But then I will demo two things. And this can fit actually to any kind of display. So it could be into mobile phone, into wearables, into all kind of tablets, displays, and display screen devices. And what we have created here is the ability to basically use the screen as a power source as long as you got exposed to artificial or natural light. What's the secret sauce? Pretty dumb, actually. The key point is, if you have a picture, use some solar cell process. We're not producing solar cells. We are processing solar cells such a way that by working on them and combining with microlenses network, basically you don't see them. So this is basically the results. And it looks like dumb, but this is nanoprocess, nanotechnology, semiconductor technology. And that's where basically we have patents and we have skills. We're doing R&D up to industrialization of combining these processed pattern solar cells with microlenses such a way that any kind of medium can be basically solar energetics, producing solar surfaces, so that this surface can produce energy to get richer experience, user experience. And this applies to displays, but also to plane surfaces, to solar windows, to lots of application. What it means for actually people into this area, basically it's seamless integration because it's like touch screen. It's one layer that fits directly into the product. So it's not aftermarket, it's not laying over the product. It's something that we're doing and manufacturing with display manufacturers, with handset manufacturers, so that it's going to be fully with some partner inside. So for end users, basically, is you buy that at Verizon or AT&T. This is inside, and the display is providing 20% additional battery running time just because of all the light it gets exposed to. So the good point also for end user is because of being inside the product, you don't have to care about it. It's just emergency solution to get extended power. It is extra battery time without getting some brainy, okay, should I choose this one or this one? How can I get more power? How can I find an outlet if you're just outside? So this is inside the product for sure. And it applies actually to any kind of screen devices. The key point also is because technology is cool if you can do something with it. And basically what we're providing to these people is basically differentiation, battery, solution, power saving, but also a combination of, I would say, sustainability and innovation proposal. And that is something interesting where telecom operators, for example, and I do share also some discussion with Japanese people, they are looking into how to handle emergency, how to handle low consumption, how to handle emergency solutions. And for all these ones, basically, you're seeing this kind of technology as a very direct solution and proposal that they can leverage on. So storytelling is pretty interesting and easy. I can share some insight about African or European telecom operators. They all have different stories around this technology, which is pretty nice when we're talking about the technology, because adoption is good. Where we are, basically, we do have 30 patents right now. 15 are related to displays. We're discussing with 5 of the top 10 global handset manufacturers, and we have a pilot manufacturing line, but then we're discussing with the biggest display manufacturers to do this manufacturing at a mass market global site. So this is quite onto the market. And we don't stand at displaying only. Invisible solar cells is about all these actually use cases. Displays, buildings, wearables, transportation, and so on. So thank you very much for your attention.
Mark?
Well, it's super neat. It's actually interesting because one of our portfolio companies is called Solaria, which uses the same cutting the solar cell up into strips and a rippled lens glass approach over that. So I guess my two comments / questions are with relates to the thickness you're going to need of the glass and then the angle of the viewing. So for example, with our company, it has to be on trackers because, otherwise the sun can't see it or you can't see the viewing angle.
Yeah.
So if someone wants to check their phone like this instead of like this, you may have an issue. And then the second one is, in terms of the thickness, in order to have those, those ripples, that creates height. So you can make them really small ripples and cut very thin strips, but then the strips themselves are brittle. So how do you come across those two topics?
So I can talk about the secret sauce, not about everything, because IP licensing technology is some kind of IP sensitive. But basically, this is a mobile phone where the module is inside, so I have the module separated. And so thickness, right now, we're talking about 500 micron altogether, glass substrate lenses, PV. So the old stack solar cells and micro lenses, we're talking about less than 50 micron. And basically, this is adapted to this phone. You can't see actually that the module is inside. I will be happy to demo you. And then when you put some lights on it, you will see it charges directly. Regarding the stripes on the module I have there, basically, and what you have here, you won't see anything of them. It's really few micron sized. And basically, the way we do I would say the skills we have inside are solar cells and optics. It's all about that. The key patents we do have are all about this combination. And so I would say that's where we do have this opportunity to be fully invisible to human eye. And so this is basically this is a phone of last year, but right now we're discussing with the big A brands on next year generation with higher resolution, and you won't see them at all. But I will be happy to share some more.
Thanks.
So what kind of watts do you get that much real estate?
So basically, we're talking about watts per square centimeter. And so 2.5 milliwatts per square centimeter is the current production, basically related to transparency, because transparency, it's a trade-off between transparency and power. 2.5 milliwatts per square centimeter is what we can deliver this year for 90% transparency.
So the actual cells, what did you say, 19?
Basically, we're starting with raw material. You can get anywhere like amorphous silicon is 8% power
8%.
conversion. The normal solar cells is about 8%, yeah.
And so what difference does, how much?
Basically, it's just that we remove some cells so that you don't see anything.
But I was saying, how much difference that you make to the user experience?
20%. 20% of additional battery running time.
Just in, well, I guess it depends how much time it spends in their pocket versus out.
Yeah, basically we took it from a default scenario of being exposed. Basically, whatever you do is like in between 100% for infinite standby mode, for example. If you're under the sun, you fully compensate the standby mode of these devices up to 20% of what you need in terms of power to get a call. So the key point is taking the default scenario user, and you can additional all these, I would say, gains, and to 20% gain is what is currently achievable. By 2 years, we do have roadmaps of getting to double this kind of gain to up to 50%. The key point is how you leverage the performance of solar cells themselves. Sorry.
We don't have time for another.
We're actually running late as is, and we have one more presentation.
Then whoever's up here, hurry up. Okay, from San Francisco, by way of the UK. My Verda Pharaoh is a cloud-based utility optimization software platform designed for businesses to increase profit through an easy-to-use utility tracking analysis and reporting platform for their entire organization. Their competitive advantage lies in the ability to deliver institutional and actionable intelligence on an organization's energy, water, waste, and fuel across disparate facilities in a single online platform. So please join me in welcoming CEO Alistair Hood.
Look intelligent.
I'll give you 2 questions. All right.
if I get my computer. Can you get my computer? Get my laptop? No?
The Apple cavalry is on its way.
No, I need my bag as well. My bag to go into the converter.
Doesn't work.
Have you got a converter? Mac into converter? Hold on, he's going to get one.
Somewhere jumped this way.
All right, sorry about this, guys. Doesn't seem to be working, so I'll use my own. Thanks to Apple, they've made it a bit more complicated with their expensive converter, which is just on its way. Hold on.
You're late.
How do you get it full?
Okay.
Nah, I just want the full. All right, okay.
All right, we're off.
All right, cool. Does this work? What is it? What one is it? All right. Okay. All right, well, thanks very much. Sorry about the... I won't say Microsoft's not working, but here we go. So, yeah, we're Verda Pharaoh. So I'd like to thank you very much for inviting us here to launch. Still problems? Okay, so what is Verda Pharaoh? Verda Pharaoh, it's a SaaS-based analytics platform to help businesses increase profits through reducing their overhead expenses across multiple facilities. So essentially, we suck all the utility information, electric, gas, water, waste, propane, diesel, fuel, whatever it is, up into the cloud, and we analyze it and present it to them in a way that they can make informed decisions. Why do we do this? Well, for buildings like this, the building automation systems, SAP, Oracle, everybody, all the big guys have a system to be able to control these things and control their HVAC systems, control lights, control motors, pumps and stuff, and turn them off and on when they need to. But the vast majority, over 85% of buildings in the US, no matter the world, have no intelligent control. They might have a thermostat on the wall. That's about the intelligence. So these guys are left sort of trying to do this with spreadsheets. And everybody knows how complicated spreadsheets get. I'm sure everybody's been here. Whenever they've been using spreadsheets, want to put their fist through the computer or pulling their hair out. And what we say we do, we bridge the information gap on spreadsheets. We provide the upgrade for legacy infrastructure. So the 85% is over 5 million US properties, commercial buildings in the US alone, that don't have a building automation system. They just get their utility bills at the end of the month, write the check and pay it. And they're beginning to realize now that savings in these overhead expenses drop straight to the bottom line. So it's additional profit. So we've got customers, they're using it all over the US, and what we're giving them is actionable insights. So we're consolidating all their utility reports into one place, analyzing them the same way, pulling it all together to be able to visualize the utility, environmental portfolio performance, especially on a sort of portfolio level. Property management companies is an ideal one, banks, credit unions we've got, and they're looking at all their properties all at once, being able to drill down to the individual facility, individual meter, individual sub-meter if need be, to be able to get a good understanding and view of what they're doing, or where they're spending the money. And again, it's across all assets and multiple locations. So why we started to look at this was the market size. We're engineers. We've been doing energy efficiency work, and our customers have been asking for it. And where we're focusing is the sort of 4 ideal customer groups, and these are early adopters. We have customers in each of these. Property management companies, as you can imagine, it's a huge business. And for them, if they can save any money in their shared utilities for the building, it's additional money in their pocket. Thanks. Hotels and motels is an ideal one. They're huge. They're large users of resource, not just energy, but large users of resource. Ski resorts, hospitality, that's a funny one, but we've got ski resorts up in Tahoe that are using it, and they love it because they're trying to make sense of their 36 meters across the side of the mountain. And they sent us, one of them, as an example, sent us what they were doing in spreadsheets, and it was 160 megs worth of spreadsheets. So it was just unreasonable. Now, the surprise one that came to us is auto body and repair shops. There's about 500,000 of those across the US. They're huge users of resource, produce a lot of waste, and that for itself is over $1 billion market. So total market is over $3 billion, and there's multiple add-on revenue generating sources. Come on after that. Sales channel. Yeah, we can do direct sales, but what we've just started is a partnering program. We can't go and knock on every door. The partnering program is there for us to do a reseller's agreement with individual companies. They sell it on to their end users, and we give them a slice of the pie. So it makes sense for them. They get great insight into the end user, and the end user has comfort that somebody knows what they're doing over their back. Similar for white labeled options for larger companies. We've done that in the past, and that works well. Some of the competitors, I know we're stuck for time. We would say, people say that these are our competitors, but a lot of these are focused on the enterprise and on energy, because people get energy, they turn off the light, they save money, but nobody's making it easy for those 85%, those over 5 million companies to be able to analyze and do a holistic view across their company. Some of our current customers and partners. Hopefully Guy Kawasaki's not here when I've mentioned partners, but these are some of the guys that we've got. A lot of big hotel groups, some of the partner ski resorts. We've got a lot in the pipeline that we're pushing towards. Thank you. And to finish, what we're looking for a partnership to scale. We've got lots in the pipeline that we'll have to deal with. We've got overseas interest from Europe, which is really key because they're really pushing it because they have to report carbon by 2015. And we can do that. We've got interest from the Far East and the Middle East as well, and obviously on our doorstep here in the US. But what we're needing is a partnership. We've got the technology, we've got the revenue, we've got the customer in the pipeline, we've got the team to execute, and we're looking for a partnership to move the ball forward. Thanks very much. Thank you.
So, Lee, you get 2 questions.
Because I got gypped on the last one, yeah. So, you had your competitor set. There's quite a few folks picking around in this sector. The big issue that we've always seen in this is companies scaling. So how do you scale this other than, we're just going to go to value-added resellers or, some other channel partners? I mean, how do you really get in and scale this business?
Yeah, well, that is our model, is through the reseller channel partners, because at the end of the day, it's an incentive for them to get some of the revenue as they do it, but also if they are, we've signed agreements with a large environmental company here in the Bay Area. For them, it's a perfect opportunity because they can see great insight into the end user and then sell additional services in whenever needs be. It gives the end user great comfort that they're looking after them, but they've already got their 200 customers across the Bay Area with multiple resources. So we sell it on a per meter basis. So they've got lots and lots of customers with lots and lots of meters, and they sell it through that. So we're also in discussions with large distributors on the East Coast who want to, electrical distributors who are selling across the whole of the US to their customers, and they would like to use it and white label it for their own thing. So that is our channel to market, not individual sales, but through a distributor.
Yeah. So if you spring to a building owner or company $100 worth of savings in a year,
right,
how much of that do you extract back to you?
Well, depending on the building owner, but so for instance, the hotel that we're using, they're spending $800,000 a year on electric. The stats that we have compiled and we get from the industry is that using this, they would save between 5 and 15%. So that's $80,000. We're charging them roughly $400 to $500 a month, and they are more than happy to pay it because.
Right. No, but I think that gets to the scaling problem that we've seen in this industry is you bring a lot of value,
right?
But the company's bringing the value. You're not extracting as much as you are bringing, right?
You're being generous.
You're being generous, and it's hard to extract more. So good.
Right.
Once they're used to the low price point, it's hard to.
I see.
Yeah. But I mean, it's obvious there's a huge market for it.
There's a huge market. There's a huge need. Yeah.
So you're extracting the data out of their utility accounts.
That's it.
Okay. So what's really differentiating you from other people that do the same? Like a lot of people.
There are a lot of people going after the enterprise on the energy side of it, because that's immediate saving. You turn off the light. But where, for instance, property management companies in the San Francisco Bay Area, their biggest expense isn't electric, isn't water, isn't gas, it's trash. Nobody's looking after these sides of the utility equation for them, and that's where we come in to give the holistic view across the whole of the company. Especially for these smaller guys that don't have systems like or buildings like this.
So a lot of these smaller guys are not terribly big businesses at all.
Potentially, yeah.
Is there any relevance to the Intuit relationship there that you?
Yes, that we're in discussions with them about their partnering program to be able, because they're going after exactly the same customers we're going after.
Yeah.
I don't have any questions.
Mark?
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.